Welcome back to the GM Podcast. I'm Audriel Miller.
I'm Gavin Bullock.
And today, we have a member of the Catawba Sports Hall of Fame, two-time state championship winning head coach, led Central Cabarrus to a 65-game winning streak, four-time SBC Coach of the Year, and now is taking the head coaching position at the Cannon School, Coach Jim Baker.
Glad
How
to
you
be
doing
here.
today, Coach?
I am doing well.
It's good
How
to
did
hear.
we figure out who was M and G first? Or
We thought with a sports podcast we would kind of have it from a sports GM perspective, so it just kind of
absolutely.
fit.
All
Yeah,
right, that makes sense.
No one
Yes,
calls
sir.
me by my first name, so obviously
obviously
it
he's
worked
Miller.
better. All right, we go ahead and get into it, though. What went into the move to go to Cannon, and how excited are you for the opportunity?
I think it was a unique opportunity. We had quite a run at Central, and I'm really proud of what we did. And I didn't look for it. It just sort of fell in my lap. Dominique Reed, who played for me, was assistant coach. And Kelvin Drakeford, who played for me also, is the girls coach there. He won 2 state championships already.
Man.
And I called over there to Dominique and sent him a text and said, Domo, can I help you get the job? And I'll call anybody you want me to. I love the kid to death. He's an unbelievable player and he's a good coach. And he said, sit tight. And waited next day, text me back, said, Coach, I think they want to go outside. Kelvin and I both recommended you to the AD and gave him the number. And the next day he called me and it just sort of worked itself out. And it was totally nothing against Central, the kids.
Yeah.
I love my
Yes, sir.
administration, Mr. Shue, the APs, Coach Billings. Everybody was great. I was looking forward to the challenge of my juniors. They had gotten better this spring.
Absolutely.
They really had gotten better, and they were competing well, and they were figuring it out. And I felt like we could win a couple games in the state with the crew we had then. And
For sure.
who knows who was going to transfer back in. I mean,
Right.
kids hop
It
around.
works every year.
But I think at my age, and it was just okay. One more
Challenge.
shot to see if
Yeah.
I can do something.
Yeah.
And Rob Fields, who played for me, did a podcast last year, early in the year sometime, I can't quite remember. And he asked me one question, Coach, what you going to do? I retire or whatnot? And I said, I don't know. It feels like God has a plan for us, and there's one more something that he wants me to do. And it was a tough decision. And I had to get Jake on board, and Jake, the senior, didn't want to mess up his senior year. And
For sure.
and just like you guys wanted to prove that y'all could win it, and then the Twins wanted to prove they could win it without y'all.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
the same
it's
thing.
the same
Same
thing.
thing.
And Jake and Amari and them guys, they wanted to make a run at it.
Yeah.
And that's the neat thing about it. You got tradition, but you got everybody wants to be, make their own mark.
Takes the
at it.
next step.
And so I had talked with Myers Park. Not many people knew that.
I didn't know that.
And I was going to have to drive like 45 minutes into traffic.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't know. And then I didn't say anything to Jake when he was riding to school one morning. I said, Jake, you want to go to Myers Park? And he goes, what? I said, you want to go? And Jake thought for about 10 seconds and says, Dad, that would be a great move for you next year. And then about the same thing happened this year, but I met with the AD, went back over and met with the headmaster and the AD, and then they were smart. They knew Jake depended on me, because
Yeah,
I said,
right.
I'm not leaving Jake behind. And they had a player there, and the player did a school visit and showed Jake around, and then Jamie was home at the same time, my oldest son. And he said, Jake, you need to go ahead and do this. This would be pretty cool. It'll set you up for next year, the college prep classes and so forth. So I came home Thursday, early from school. It was about the last day of school, and met Hannah in the driveway. And I said, Hannah, what's going on? She said, have you talked to Jake? I said, something wrong? She said, no. He said, Jake come down the steps this morning and says, I think I want to go to Cannon. And then, the rest is sort of history. But it was hard. It was hard talking to the team.
Yeah.
It was hard calling Coach Billings. It was hard talking to Mr. Shue. And, I love Central. We had so much success with you guys.
So much.
And, you could probably rob the bank and people Central going to go to, they're going to get you out of jail.
It's a good place.
And it's good, and I love the kids, and I love in the spring with them. That's my favorite part, in that ox gym or grinding, just getting the crap beat out of you and getting knocked down and getting up and talking a little trash, getting mad. That's what made us a really good program.
Yeah, putting real pain in that ox gym.
And I tell people that you win a championship in April when you're in that ox gym playing a game of 7 and you're playing against each other, and I miss all that. I really do. And now we're sort of I miss all that during the season is what I'm saying. To me, that's the whole key to it.
The summers are the best.
And I think it's going to be a good challenge. Central, when I came to Central, the culture was just not there.
Yeah.
And you got to build a culture, and I think the culture at Cannon's a lot higher up than the culture than when I came to Central. And my first year we won 4 games and we won 6.
Yeah.
I'm questioning myself, what the heck's going on here?
Right.
And the kids wouldn't listen. You tell them go right, they go left, and tell them back it out, they jack a 3, and it was just.
And what would you say? Starting off winning 4 games and 6 games, and then not too long, you went back-to-back state championships, 65-game win streak. What was the hardest part of changing the culture and getting there? Like, what do you think was the toughest part?
Scott Brewer, who won a state championship at Central, he worked with me at Catawba for 2 years, and then he goes to Central, wins state championship. Then he goes to Concord. He one of the best high school coaches ever in the state of North Carolina. I mean, his winning percentage is unbelievable. Yeah. When I got the job, he said, Baker, it's going to take you 3 years. I said, Scott, you're crazy. I said, I'm going to flip this thing in a year.
Yeah.
He said, it's going to take you 3 years, I'm telling you. And he said, my only advice is to try to get you 1 player in each class that's committed, fill in with a couple football players, but you're going to have to go through a cycle of kids. And sure enough, he was right. He was right. We didn't win to the 3rd year, and it just took that long to go through. Early on, I had some talented kids, but the commitment, the character, you wasn't on him with.
Right.
And then, you guys came in, they began to shift a little bit, and, Audrell, you played JV your freshman year, then you started on your varsity your sophomore, and Gavin, it took you about the end of your senior year. Your freshman year, and then you started figuring it out. And then it just takes a little while, and Jaden probably played a little bit more earlier on, but it just takes a while, and people don't understand it. You don't understand the commitment and how you got to work, and then the twins came along, and then the culture, and then we started exploding with talent. Now you got DJ, Josh transfers in, so now you got the culture, you got the commitment, and you got an abundance of talent the last few years. And you look at the kids that went on, college football player, playing in college. And I don't worry so much about the level. You look at we were only D2 kids, but we were beating all the D1 players.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. It didn't matter.
I got a long
biggest thing for us was the size thing.
I started writing it down one day, all the kids we beat, and holy cow.
Yeah.
It's an all-American team. The kids that we beat.
Yeah.
So what do you anticipate will be the biggest difference going from, obviously Central's a public school, going to Cannon, which is a private school?
Well, my background is private.
Yeah.
Because I went to private school. I went to Catawba. I coached there 20 years. I worked 8 years at Davidson. So I sort of understand, what it's a little different.
Yeah.
And a private school is sometimes a little more cliquish. It's a little bit different type of student. It's a little bit more different, mentality. Cannon is basically a college campus and college school.
Absolutely.
And it's just we're not overly talented right now. A lot of the high flyers left, but we'll get better. And the kids that I've had one workout with them, I've watched them play a couple of games. They're good kids and they play hard.
Yeah.
Now my first 2
thing.
years here, I was having to coach effort.
Yeah.
If you're having to try to get kids to play hard, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Once you get kids playing hard, then you can coach them up and worrying about winning. So
Get better.
I think we're going to be competitive. They played 3 games at Charlotte on Tuesday, and I've never probably seen so many bad shots. And I think I counted 10 assists in 3 games. And we got in there yesterday and we started putting all my crazy stuff in, jump passes, hook passes, the Lobo drill. And them kids are a little bit taken, but they picked it up and they went 100 miles an hour.
It translated.
And so I think, it'll take a little bit to get the culture built in and understand how to play, how to win. And that was the neat thing here about you guys and the Twins and all. They understood what it took to win.
Yeah.
You know, we may have taken a few bad shots, but we're not coming down trying to get 40 a night and sacrifice.
Unless you're Jaden Thompson. Shout out to Jaden.
So what did you appreciate the most with your time at Central?
I think the quality of people. I think it all boils down to people. And, I got a call yesterday on my way back from camp in Salisbury. And I went by and picked up the Twins.
Yeah.
And I have Jake with me. And we're going to Cannon to practice. And then Gavin comes over, and then Noah comes over. So before long, I mean, my Central kids are scrimmaging my Cannon kids. I'm showing them the offense and whatnot. And I think long story short, it's the quality of people you're around. And I'm working camp up there with one of my players, Jolly Manning, played with the Globetrotters, most unbelievable person I know. I get a call on the way home from Antonio Houston, was a 4A player here in Charlotte. He goes, "Coach, I got a call today." And I knew what it was. I said, "What's that, Tony?" He says, "Coach, I'm going in the Hall of Fame at Catawba." And he was so
nice.
pumped up. And I said, "You know who else is going in?" He said, "Well, they told me another player, Brian Graves, my other, is going in." And, Marvin Moore, who played for me, he was a SAC player of the year, male athlete of the year. He's in the Hall of Fame. His little kid's in my camp.
That's special.
And so I think all those relationships are important. And I think we will always have that bond.
Absolutely.
Your class, this past class, and
For sure.
some of them may not right now appreciate it as much, but as you get a little bit older, you appreciate what we were able to accomplish. I tell you one thing that meant as much to me as winning it this year is when you 5 guys came back.
Yeah, that was special.
And we're sneaking you in the locker room. The guy wouldn't let y'all back. I go, "Wait a minute, we just won a state championship."
Absolutely.
So the next thing I know, we're all pulling off our credentials, handing to you, and finally the guy just told me, "Just go ahead, go get."
We was going to get back there.
Yeah,
one
we
way
was going to get back in that way for his locker room.
And you guys are in there jumping up and down with them and, celebrate. And to me, that's what it's all about.
It's a true family.
It's the relationship. And believe it or not, that was so hard for me to walk away from because, we all had a bond, and whether you like it or not, the coach is the anchor of that.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, we're over at Cannon yesterday scrimmaging, and I went and told, doing our drills and whatnot, and my new athletic director came down. I said, "This is the Twins. They're going to Catawba. Noah's going to Catawba. Gavin's coming in, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Coach, this is great." In my first practice there, I got, half my team over there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm sure DJ gets back in town next week.
He's gonna be there.
They're going to be there.
Yeah.
And that
Miller
means a
come
lot.
play pickup.
That means a lot that you're part of a family. And, you guys know if
For
one
sure.
of you got put in jail and you call me at 2 a.m, I'm going to come.
Yeah.
And that was hard to walk away from.
Yeah.
And I know that some of the juniors, it hurt them, but it's part of life. You got to follow your heart.
Everything got in at some point.
You got to follow your heart, and I'm looking forward to the challenge up over there. And the support is not even close to what you have in the public school.
Yeah.
And what they want me to do is sort of bring the team back into the Cannon family. They had gotten a little bit too far out there, and like an IMG, and they want me to try to win with some of the kids in house. And I mean, I can bring some kids in, but they don't want to be a factory, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Right.
I think if I can get talent close,
Homegrown,
we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you. Obviously, we wanted to touch on this. What was so special about those 2 state championship teams, and what was your favorite thing about coaching them?
Well, somebody asked me which one was better, and it's like, do I love Jake more than I love Jamie? Do I love Madison more than Hannah? It's the whole thing. I think the bonding, the closeness of being with each other.
Yeah.
I thought your team probably played better together. I thought y'all were a little bit better offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, this year's team scored a couple points more.
Yeah.
The assist this year may be a little bit better, but this past team probably was a little bit better defensively because we had Josh and DJ covering up stuff back there.
Blocking shots.
Blocking shots and whatnot. I mean, you blocked a few shots, Gavin, but
it was a 5 man, 6'2",
6'2",
But when you got Josh back there, closing out on a corner shot,
changes everything.
It changes. And I thought this past team was a little bit better defensively. I thought the first team, the 03 team, was better offensively. I think you guys love winding people up, trying to embarrass them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And this team was a little bit more, we're just going to go ahead and
run,
throw it down on top of you.
For sure.
But, it's hard. You look at it, and I thought a long time, too. I mean, shoot, we're 65-0.
It's crazy.
If I could win, 8 more, we'd be in the Coach Bill said, Baker, you can't leave. We need 8 more wins. I said, I don't know. But, I mean, there was a lot of stuff, but I had to think through. But, you think about it, you pray about it, and then you wake up one day, and I haven't thought twice about it.
Yeah.
And you just, you follow your heart, and you go, and we'll always have our time at Central. And I really believe this. 20 years from now, if I can even walk and get back when they honor you guys at a football game, there's going to be little Gavins running around, little Audrells, and DJ will still be out there signing autographs in front of the,
For sure.
But he'll probably be passing out his vote for DJ stickers, for mayor or something like that. But you guys will always.
I don't know about that.
I'll be scared if he's our mayor.
You guys will always have that bond, and it's pretty special.
Very special.
So Gavin didn't know I was going to ask this, but what was your favorite thing about coaching Gavin?
Favorite thing about coaching Gavin,
and your least favorite, actually. I want to know both sides of the spectrum.
Gavin was a little bit like a breaking a horse, a wild horse. You had to. Sometimes you had to get the whip out, and sometimes you had to give it a cube of sugar.
Yeah.
But the thing I loved about Gavin, he would bait people more than anybody ever been around. He would let you throw that ball in him. Now, he probably because he was tired and wasn't playing defense. But he would let that ball come inside a couple times, and then when it got down to that time of the game, he'd always bat it down and steal it and stuff like that. He'd shoot 5 bricks, and then when he needed to hit a 3, he'd hit a 3. And I think Gavin, along with you, Audrell, y'all were y'all stirred that pot, and you need somebody to do that. You need somebody to stir it in the locker room and the team and whatnot, because personalities are different. Every team's got outgoing kids, quiet kids, and all that. And y'all both were more of a type A. I'm gonna say what's on my mind.
Absolutely.
Jaden's more like he's gonna analyze it a little bit. Jaden will say something, but it's not as spontaneous as with you guys. And then this past year, had DJ. He's bouncing off the walls and all that. And Noah was more quiet, and then Jake would tell me, "Oh my gosh, Caden's the funniest kid on the team this past year." You wouldn't even know it the year before. He didn't say
you wouldn't
know.
He wouldn't know anything. And then the Carson and Chase, when y'all were seniors and they're juniors, they didn't say much. Well, then this year,
they're leaders.
They became leaders, and it's just interesting to see how that dynamic changes. And and I don't know if the freshmen and sophomores and juniors are afraid of you. Don't want to say nothing. Don't want to rock the boat. But
No.
it's interesting how the steps, you go up those steps and
For
people's
sure.
position and roles change.
100%.
So I just wanted to ask you about your time at Catawba. How did that shape you into the coach you are today?
A couple things happened while I was at Catawba, and I think it helped made me a pretty good coach. When I talked with him 3 times about coming back. One year I was at Davidson. Another year around the time I was leaving Davidson, and another time I was at Virginia Tech. And I mean, I was having fun. I mean, we're flying around. We got nice pregame meals. We're playing in big arenas. And I'd proposed to Tina. We were getting married, and Catawba called me and said, Baker, it's time to come back. And I'd said no 3 times. And Coach Moyer, who I played for, and I wasn't a great player, I was a role player. 3 of my teammates are in the Hall of Fame. I mean, and we had 2 20-win seasons, won the conference 1 year there. And when I remember I got the call, I said, okay, I'm coming. Called Tina and said, Tina, we're moving to Salisbury. She goes, what? And so she was in Norfolk. We'd met in Blacksburg. And I came back. We got married, started the grind there. And I walked in my first day in Coach Moyer. He was unbelievable coach. His brother coached at Virginia Tech. Together they won 1,300 games. Coach Moyer was old school. And he said, Baker, how much time do you need on defense? And I looked at him puzzled. He says, you're going to coach the defense. You do the out of bounds plays. Here's your recruiting budget. Here's your schedule for the next year. All I want to do is coach the offense.
Yep.
True story.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, here's, give me 45 minutes. So he wrote down layups, 10 minutes shooting, defense 45 minutes. So we'd start defense, and I put the time on the clock, and I was killing them kids. We were taking charge, loose ball drills, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he disappeared. And then with about 1 minute to go on the clock is ticking down, he'd come in every single day in practice. He'd have a hot top on. He'd been out walking. He chewed tobacco. He's sweating. He's got chewing back and dripping down his chin. He'd walk up to me and says, Baker, aren't you tired of this crapless scrimmage? And he would pick him 5. He'd pick the best 5, give me the next 5.
Crazy.
And for 2 hours, we'd scrimmage. In his philosophy, he wanted to get 100 points.
Yeah.
And he would change the offense every day. We couldn't remember the offense and all that. I mean, every day he loved the X and O part. And we get in the game, the kids wouldn't know what to do. And we were winning, but they wouldn't know what to do. And then he'd say, hey, I'll run the play we put in on Tuesday. And they didn't know what it was. He cussed all the time. It was hilarious. So long story short, I said, if I'm going to be a head coach, I'm going to do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time talking.
Right.
And the time you're talking, putting in plays, doing this. So I worked really hard on what I call the system. And I think that whole thing helped me more than anything when I became a head coach at Catawba. And we won the championship my second year. We were 5 years, we had 100 wins. We had a little bit over that. We had 200 and 300. And then near the end, the wheels sort of came off. I got a new administration, we had some stuff, but it was time to go.
Yeah.
But through that whole thing, I had my system, and then the year I was out, kids all wanted me. My wife wanted me to stay college. I said, look, if I stay college, we're going to end up at Southwest Mexico State. And y'all ain't going to see
Southwest Mexico State.
Southwest Mexico State is
yeah,
crazy.
we're going to have one of them directional schools or
Right.
ABC schools. And we were all happy and all this. So I went, took a year, did the Carolina courts, and I learned a lot about stupidity, ignorance, and being stupid. But it's funny how God works things out. I met Curry, Coach Curry.
Yeah.
I met Coach
Shout out
Speedy,
Coach Curry.
Speedy. Yeah.
Lori,
Yeah.
the twins. Jake and them were playing on a little team. We threw a team together, and we were beating everybody. We never practiced. We just show up and play, about 5 of them. But we couldn't beat the twins. They were in an older group. And then Jake, the season's over, and Jake, he wants to go play video games or whatnot. And Phil kept saying, Jake, you're going to come play with us, aren't you going to come play? And Jake said, look at me, I don't want to, Dad, blah, blah, blah. I said, Jake, you need to go play.
Yeah.
And that was our relationship beginning with Phil and the twins, because they picked up Jake, took him with them to the Nationals and whatnot. And so you look, 5-6 years together,
Yeah.
Here's the twins and Jake were ball boys when y'all were freshmen.
Yeah.
They were behind the bench.
Yeah.
And, Curry's my assistant. Then we bring Speedy on, and they're the reason they're good people.
Yeah.
And if you put enough good people around, you get things that are going to happen. But
Right.
I mean, you guys noticed how I came in here and I had my Catawba system going my first year or so here, and then I got to thinking, let me tweak this thing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I started tweaking it, and then, I'm going to try to do the same stuff at Cannon that we've done the last 3 years. I just like it. I think the kids like it. I think it's fun. Nobody ever complains about it. And we do the same stuff every day, but it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
And, you guys have always, no one has ever said, Coach, you can do something else.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing in our success. Like, with you being our coach, a lot of people could have easily gotten our way and tried to be like, it was a great player to coach relationship. We wanted to try something on offense. Okay, we'll try it. Like, and we're scrimmaging the JVs every day, and we just figure out a new thing with the offense. And that, I feel like that's what really made us.
And we had that consistency established early, so it was every day we were working on the same thing. It's crazy right now. We're seeing a team in the NBA that has a system put in place that's dominating the entire league, and that shows the importance of having that system in place.
For sure.
And I think this system, you're comfortable with it. I think that's the biggest thing. I could draw plays up all day long, but very seldom, it's a timeout. Or rip that kid out of the corner, Gavin, screen and pop this time.
For sure.
It was just all the stuff we worked on within what we're doing, and it became so easy to do. And then everybody goes, wow, it looks so pretty. I can't believe y'all play like that. Well, that's how we play.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And with us all growing up together and really being a family, it wasn't an ego competition. There was no. We were fine with whatever role as long as we were in that left column. We were winning.
Well, and I told the kids from Cannon, they haven't played much on that level, and they lost a couple games on Tuesday. And I told them yesterday it was my first time working with them and put our system in. And got Jake's out there and Noah, and of course, Jake's going in twins, and we're doing all that ripping and jumping and hook passing and all that stuff. It's fun.
It is.
So the kids like doing it, and then we went live against a little bit, and I said, guys, let me tell you something. We averaged 2 years in a row. We've led the country in scoring. This past year, we're technically right now number 2 in max prep. Some stats are screwed up on team number 1. They're averaging like 92 points a game and haven't scored but 90 points twice. They got some bogus stats.
So that's not right.
Yeah.
But here we are. We averaged 87, 88 the last 2 years, 24, 25 assists. And you think about if you assist on 25 baskets,
it's at least
that's
50.
At least at the minimum. And you talk about some threes in there. And, I watched this play and I said, guys, y'all going to figure this out. Because I watched you play and you had 10 assists maybe in 3 games. I said, that's a quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a quarter. And then once you buy into it and realize the more I give that thing up, the more it's going to come back to me. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
That's the biggest thing that ever resonated with me as obviously playing under you. I forgot. I think it was my sophomore year. You just said you make the right play, the ball's going to find a way to come back to you eventually. So just me having that mindset when I played, it was like it just became easy.
And you when you play to win, you play, you pass the ball, you rebound, you play defense, you get loose balls. When you start playing for your points, you start counting them.
Exactly.
And then all of a
your
sudden,
effort relies on your points.
Well, this is gonna hurt my average. I gotta score. Then you start pressing. Then you start trying. But we were talking about today, Jake and I in camp with the little kids today. You got to pass that thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, if you pass it, then that's the whole concept of it. And it's going to come back to you. But we're in a funny world right now with sports and parents and there's some craziness in there, and people are yelling for you to shoot, and it may not be a good shot, and the coach is trying to win, and Coach Bell, a football coach, said, Coach, I really believe there's a lot of these parents out there, and this makes sense if you think through it. These parents rather for their kid to get the 2 touchdowns and only win 2 games. Then the team get 1 touchdown and the team win 10.
Yeah,
that's the world we live in.
It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Look out for yourself.
It really is, and you just Jake said this riding down the road today. He says, high school is so much fakeness to it. It really is, because if you score 20 points in a 1A conference, everybody thinks you're great, but then you go down, play in a 4A
in Charlotte.
You're not going to get 20. His point he was making, it's so much fluff out there and things that people worry about that makes no difference.
Absolutely.
At all.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we also want to give a shout out to Coach Baker for coming in to talk about his coaching career. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.